Oh, baby. Oh, it's Christmas Day. Let's go. Arkansas basketball tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Coming off a dub for football in Florida. Are you kidding me? Oh, it just makes tonight that much sweeter. Just that much sweeter. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. What's going on? Hog fans, hope you guys had a great weekend. Who we kidding? We know you had a great weekend. Arkansas got the dub in Gainesville for the first time ever in school history. We got some all SEC honors. Yeah, you got some all SEC honors in there, but whatever. You know, whatever. What'd you expect, huh? See, these glasses they don't do it as well because, you know, they're all gunked up right there. But they still, my God, right? I've become a sunglasses connoisseur paying entirely too much. All right. Shout out to Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys, man. Man, oh, man, over 60 members. It didn't look like we were going to be there. It looked like we were going to come up a little short. And then we somehow, I guess, the last day for people to sign up, we had a couple of people signed up, and it put us over 60. I think it was 62. 62 members. And, of course, we have the legendary status members whose names are scrolling down below. Football win, Hog basketball. It's Christmas in November. Absolutely, Mark. I feel so good. Shout out to the people who've been clipping parts of the show. I appreciate that, man. I encourage you to do more of it. It's a lot of fun. This is fun. It's work. A lot of work goes into all this stuff. Thank God you got a little bit of help, you know. Shout out to Travis for the artwork, you know. Josh Mindeman for the artwork, too, the official Razorback football lead graphic designer who helped me with that logo you see right there. You see where my index finger is? He did that. That's right. The guy that does all the Razorback football graphics, he did that. Huh? And then the art you see before you is thanks to my guy Travis. All right. 4 hours out, baby. 7 p.m. I'll be here. We're going to do a watch party tonight. Really looking forward to that for the Arkansas Razorback basketball season opener. So we'll be doing that. All right. Logo on point. It's like chef's kiss, man. Josh killed it. You know, I had him on. There's a Patreon interview, and it's not available to the public. You got to be a Patreon supporter. I think it's still up. I don't think it's been taken down. I'm pretty sure it's still up. I don't know. If you're a Patreon supporter, go check it out. Speaking of, we also had Blake Lovell on last week. That's only available on Patreon. You only have access to that if you're a Patreon supporter. So, yeah, for now, that will eventually go public. But when exactly, I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I can't make up my mind. All right. I'm not doing this alone. Good old, I think Tripp meant to say there, he meant to say good old cold beer. I'm sure Sam had him a good old cold beer on the way home Saturday. What a flight that must have been, huh? Make sure you guys like, share. If you're new here, feel free to tap the subscribe button. Again, tonight, listen, these watch parties, they are funner. Well, don't get me wrong. I like being around people, but, man, I think I did okay on Saturday on my own, doing my own watch party. I thought about doing those a couple of years ago, decided against it because you don't want the expectations to be that you're going to do it every game. Sometimes I just need to be able to take notes for the post-game show, but we're doing this one tonight. It's season opener. I don't know if we're going to do one for Auburn or not. I don't know yet. It may just be a thing where it's like make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit the notification bell to be there, right? Hogs win, Hogs win. That's right, Mike. That is absolutely right. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Notifications bell. All right. I'm loving the AI, the Razorback AI stuff that's been popping up everywhere. It's great. Brian Fraser says you got to come on with Macho Men. Shades. I need to go get me some. That's a good point, Brian, especially after the win. I'd love to get like the hat, if they make a fat guy jacket that's Macho Man, one of his. God, dude, he was so fun to watch. Rest in peace. Former Cardinal, by the way. Former St. Louis Cardinal, if you didn't know that. Yeah, I'm ready for 7 p.m., man. I'm getting – I'll see you guys in Discord. 7 p.m., baby. All right. Shout out to, all you Patreon supporters. Again, if you guys want to join that, here is the link. We want to keep growing. Obviously, the ultimate goal is 100 subs. That's going to take a while. It took me a while to get to 50 Patreon supporters. It took me a while. It took me like a year, I think, when we actually set out to do it. It took a year, so it's going to take a while to get to 100. We're just 40 or so shy, And listen, not everyone signs back up consecutive months, so that's also something that can be a little bit of a challenge to kind of keep up with. Man, oh man, we got a lot to discuss here. We are going to talk about Alcorn State a little bit tonight, or here in a little bit. We're obviously going to react to the Arkansas-Florida game a little bit more, although this is more of we're a little bit more level-headed. I'm not freaking out, screaming. By the way, I put a short out today if you guys haven't seen it. I thought, what, I need to do some more YouTube shorts. So I put that thing together this morning. It took me a little bit, but I got that knocked out, so it's pretty great. I say it's pretty great. That's up to you guys to decide. What a game. What a game. What a game. We'll get to it in just a second. Yahoo Sports published this article on Sunday, I think, or Saturday. Defeat of Florida increases buyout of Arkansas. I mean, I think we knew this, but they give us a little bit more detail here. I do not care what Drew Barrymore has to say. Please stop playing that ad. Yahoo. Oh, no, this is USA Today, but it's Yahoo Sports that published it. Defeat of Florida increases buyout of Arkansas coach Sam Pittman by more than $5 million. So I mean, again, this isn't exactly breaking news. A lot of us knew this, but again, they're going to kind of point this out a little bit. With the victory against the Gators on Saturday, the Arkansas coach improved his record to since the start of the 2021 college football season to 19-16, and guaranteed that he will finish the 2023 season with a mark of at least a 500 record dating back to the 2021 season opener. Because of that, if Pittman is fired without cause, I mean, if you suck, you suck. Is that not cause enough? I'm just saying, if that's why they were to, let's say he loses out, right? Let's say he does just finish 3-9. And listen, there's a realistic argument to be made. You didn't just go down to Gainesville. I'm gonna brag on that win because it's the first time ever. It's in Gainesville. I think ESPN was reporting that it was a sellout. There weren't very many open seats. I'm sure the ticket prices weren't super expensive. Arkansas's terrible on paper. They're terrible, right? The record isn't very appealing. I'm going to give him credit for that. But at the end of the day, if he loses out and Florida doesn't make a bowl game, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he returns, right? I think they will probably fire him even with this buyout. Now, again, we knew this. We knew that it was going to increase, that his buyout's going to increase. They did that extension, in 2021 is when it started. They knew that there was a possibility that, we're gonna have to come up with some dough. And if you don't think that they could do that, and that's why they won't go looking for a coach, guys, I could point you to about 3 different people who know a hell of a lot more about this who will tell you otherwise. So, getting back to this, because of that, because of him being above 500 or with at least a 500 mark, if Pittman is fired without cause at the end of the season, he will be owed 75% of what he is owed on the remainder of his contract, according to the terms of his agreement with Arkansas. So, Sam Pittman contract details. Pittman's win over Florida is as a notable distinction that is worth millions for Arkansas. According to the terms of Pittman's contract obtained by the USA Today network, he will be owed no less than $16.1 million if the university fires him without cause on December 1st, 2023. He had fallen below the 500 win percentage threshold since the start of the 2021 season. he would have only been owed 50%, worth roughly about $10.7 million. In either case, he would have to make a good faith effort to find another job. You remember this with Bielema? Wasn't that what the U of A tried to trip Bielema up over? The income of which would be subtracted from Arkansas's buyout. Pittman is scheduled to make $6.35 million in 2023 through December 31st, including a $5.25 million salary that includes $500,000 in annual salary, $4.5 million in additional compensation for speaking engagements. My God. Okay, that part. See, I didn't read this far down. I didn't know that. Holy shit. Wait a minute. $4.5 million in additional compensation for speaking engagements? What? That can't be right. In a $250,000 bonus for winning 7 games in 2022. His pay ranks him. Again, this is why no university is shocked by his buyout and all this other stuff. It's kind of standard now. We got to remember, guys, we're living in a level of inflation that everything's going up. Everything's going up from the all the way down to the guy that pushes your carts, which used to be me 20 years ago. So the guy pushing the carts, he's making more. Wages have gone up, which, whether you like it or not, it does contribute to a small degree, or some would argue to a major degree, to inflation, along with pumping trillions of dollars into the economy from the Fed and all this. Like, the inflation goes up and it affects. There's nothing that it doesn't affect, really. I don't know that inflation doesn't reach from C to signing C. I mean, it's rough. So this is not a shock, right? No one at the U of A is like, okay, he goes 3-9, we have to keep him because of this money. No, they'll find someone will help pay, or they'll dip in some money somewhere. I also want to say I don't think it's going to come to this point. I don't. And we're going to talk about that also here in just a minute. But his pay ranks him at 22nd among all FBS coaches and 10th among SEC's 14 coaches. So it's not even like his base pay. It's not really that competitive in the SEC. And I would argue that's where it should be. I mean, you won 6 games last year, okay, during your regular season. And it's going to take a lot to get to 6 this year. I don't think any extensions should be handed to him at all. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I don't care if he flips this thing around or not. No, there's no way in hell. Don't pull a Mike Anderson. Please, God, don't pull a Mike Anderson where you're paying him more. Now, then there was a situation to be discussed about his extension and his buyout and everything. I'm not saying that it has zero effect on whether or not Hunter Yurchek and the board of trustees. I'm not saying it has zero effect. It does to a degree. I'm just simply saying they offer these extensions with in mind that it's also possible that he's going to fall flat on his face and we got to make a coaching change, maybe even sooner than we expect. I'm telling you, these guys make the money they make for a reason. This is nothing. I'm sure they're a little bit surprised at how bad Arkansas was this year. You want my opinion, though? If Arkansas, let's say in another realm, and I don't think this happens, but in another realm, let's say Arkansas finishes 3-9. You have to fire him. I think you do not settle for 9 wins in 2 seasons. Hell no. Now you're missing a bowl game, which could still happen even if good things happen this year. You may still miss a bowl game, but they're not going to let his buyout keep them from having to make the change. I'll say that. But it is something, I'm sure, if you asked Hunter, like, how much is that weighing on your mind? I'm sure he would say, well, it would require some conversations with the board. It would require some conversations with the Razorback Foundation. It's going to require a conversation probably with the NIL, pool of money or something. We're going to have to give Jerry Jones, Papa Jerry, a phone call. I'm sure some of that's going to take place. So I don't know. But I don't think that happens. I'm gonna say it right now. I'll just tell you right now. I was gonna save it for Friday, but I'm just gonna. I think Arkansas wins out up until Missouri. Listen. Don't take anything I say to the bank. Don't, because I also said Arkansas was gonna lose out before Mississippi State. I said Arkansas wasn't gonna win another game other than FIU. I damn sure didn't think they would go to the swamp and do what they did. So. I have to judge this on a week-to-week basis. I don't think anybody – in fact, I know I'm not the only one that said this. Vast majority of folks, including people in the live chat now, including someone who's probably pissed off at me for something I said. Listen, I would argue probably 99% of fans who understood the situation that Arkansas was facing and having to fire their offensive coordinator. I don't think anybody thought that Arkansas was going to go. Realistically, thought they were going to go to Florida and win. And not only that, look at a realistic possibility that they could win out. Like I said, I don't know if I'm buying Mizzou stock or not. They have one quality win against Kansas State, and did they drop out of the top 25 again for the second time this year? Kansas State's like their only good win. They did play Georgia damn good. I'll give them that. They did. But if you look, I don't know who to believe is really – I don't know that Georgia's that far ahead of the SEC this year. They've had some close calls against some not-so-great teams. But anytime you give Georgia a run for their money the way Mizzou did, you got to give them credit. Maybe I should start buying Mizzou stock. I don't know. I'll tell you right now, I am buying Arkansas stock. It's cheap. It's low. The stock price, it's low. It's still low because Arkansas's record. And there's still people that think that, you know what, that was a fluke. What happened down in Gainesville, you had all these things happening, right? You're coming out of a bye week. You really had, I don't know how many days to prepare for that game, and you had a huge advantage in coming in with essentially the same yet different offense with someone else pushing the buttons. That is really challenging. Guess what? That advantage is now out the window. It's out the window. Now, you still hold some advantage because you don't have a wide body of work to really look at the pros and cons of Kenny Guyton as an offensive coordinator because he's only coordinated one game in his entire career. So you have some advantage, but you don't have anywhere near the same advantage you had going into Florida. So, but anyways, I don't think we need to discuss the buyouts because I think he's fine. I think he wins out up into Missouri, so that means he's going to finish with 5 wins. I think if he gets to 4 wins, he's fine, right? And he'll do that. He did the thing that mattered, right? And he did like 3 things that mattered in one game. He made a successful change at coordinator for that game at least, right? I mean, we're going to have to imagine if he can do that down in Gainesville, he should be able to do something. I'm not saying they're going to have 39 points a week, but you expect an offensive turnaround from here on out. He beat Florida for the first time ever in school history in their nasty, gross black Florida jerseys. Those were disgusting, by the way. And he got the SEC win. He did 3 things in that one game. That's big. So now all he's got to do is win one more game, and he's fine. Right now, again, 3-9. And if they do keep him, if he went 3-9, I don't know. I wouldn't want to. Yeah, I'll have plenty to say if that happens. But yeah, okay. So we got that all out of the way. I mean, Arkansas still in a pretty good situation financially with him. I'm telling you, that $16 million buyout. I've talked to a couple of people on that, and they're like, "Trust me, the U of A's not." Like, it is something that they're going to think about. If you asked Hunter or if you asked some higher up or if you asked a board of trustee member, they'd probably say, yeah, that's something we have to consider. But you don't give those kind of extensions out with the concern of, well, we're just going to be stuck with it. Now, there is the Jimbo Fisher case, right? That screwed A&M. That happened. And at the time, that was well above market value for Jimbo, who was on the downward trend at Florida State. Remember, those of you who were here at the time, I said that's one of the most desperate things I've ever seen a school do for such a slightly above average coach at the time. He was a downward trend. He's had one good season. He's had one season that's like, oh shit, maybe he's got it figured out. One. So you can do that, but Arkansas's not in that. They're nowhere near that level of they're not in that realm of, oh shit, you know what I mean? Well, Steven had a whole bunch of messages retracted there. I don't know what you were saying. 41 gigs at 100K. He ain't going nowhere, says Bot Magnet. We're just going to keep going on with these bumper sticker slogans. He ain't going nowhere. He's not because he's going to win. But again, Bot, like I told you Saturday, if he goes 3-9, he's gone. He's gone. There's no way. And if you did keep him, you should be like Hunter Yurchek's job. But I think he'd be on the hot seat going into that 5th year for Pittman. I believe that if not the hot seat, he would catch a lot of heat from fans. I'll tell you that right now. He'd catch a lot of heat from the fans. And it's like we could brag about all the other stuff that he's gotten right, but let's be real. The sport that matters, even more than basketball, which is crazy to think because Arkansas is probably on its way to a fantastic season, I think. Even with baseball, I mean, listen, he inherited what was going on at baseball, but he's also made some great moves with Baum Stadium. Some good stuff happening there. I don't know about the ticket. I know there's some people complaining about the ticket prices and the stuff that's going on there, and I don't know if you blame the market for that because maybe it's a little volatile as far as trying to get tickets to college baseball games, or it's just an example of the U of A being a little greedy. I don't know. Maybe D, all the above. But I know there's some baseball fans that are fuming pissed about that whole situation. But even all the stuff that he's gotten right, it's like if football tanks, that's what costs you. I mean, you look at Jeff Long both times at Arkansas and Kansas. I mean, you saw what Kansas, I don't know exactly what they were doing in basketball. But of course, he caught a lot of heat for multiple reasons at KU, though. Let's see, where'd it go? We win at least one more, in my opinion. Yeah. William Brown. Pittman is not going anywhere this year and next year. William, on what basis? Do you say next year? William, if they go 5-7, like his seat's hot at this point. No matter what, his seat's hot going into next year. Like right now, we're all living in the good moment, right? We're living in the good vibes. We've got the turnaround we want. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what's the excitement level for fans? Are they going to the concession stands? Are they going to the games? I mean, that should come first. Are they going to the games? Are they buying food? Are they buying merch? Are they, how much really, like what kind of fan support is there if you keep him and then he falls flat on his face again with a 5-7 season? Either you've got a crystal ball or I don't know. But I couldn't disagree more. He is not guaranteed after next season. No way. Absolutely not. I don't know what his threshold will be. It's crazy because so much of what could happen the rest of this year is going to affect – it already has. It's going to affect what happens next year, without a doubt. Ready for tonight's game. Chiefs won. Yeah, they did. Hogs won. It's been a great weekend, Tristan. Listen, man, I'm going 2-1 in my fantasy football league. Rams are garbage. Of course, Matt Stafford wasn't available, but whatever. I got to brag on my fantasy team. I'm in 2 paid leagues, and then the Tuss Talk. I'm going to be real with you guys. I have not really kept up with the with the Tuss Talk fantasy free agency. I just don't. I hate to say it. It's like the last. There's been a couple of weeks where I made no waiver moves. I hate to say it. If there's not money involved, I really just don't give a shit. I probably should have put money on Tuss Talk with the Tuss Talk Fantasy Football League, and then I would have been way more invested. The other 2 leagues I'm really competitive in, which is crazy because PPR has kicked my ass over the last few years. I just want to get past Auburn first, says Richard Johnson. I agree. But listen, I got a job to do, and that involves answering some of your questions. And you guys ask me, one of the most frequently asked questions is what happens next with Sam. So I think it's definitely worth talking about his contract for sure. This is stuff that's going to matter if things turn south. But at the end of the day, I also, like I said, I think Sam's fine. I think they're going to win out up until Mizzou. Mizzou's a question mark. That's a game that I'm going to put a question mark on. All right, we have recruiting news. Yep, you guys know. We already kind of talked about it a little bit. Crutchfield did decommit. Now, this is a pretty big blow. There's no way to hide it, and he is favored in Mizzou. Yeah, some people are trying to throw out that it has something to do with grades. If he commits to Mizzou, then we know that that's not true, unless they just have different standards. I don't know. Aren't there SEC standards you're supposed to abide by? Yeah, because I know for a while there were individual school standards. Like Arkansas had a bizarre back in the day. I remember hearing constantly and reading constantly about something about like there was just a certain like level, and the Arkansas's was lower than most, And then like schools like Vanderbilt had higher standards. Obviously they're a private school, so their standards might be a little bit higher. I don't know. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I don't know that if he commits to Mizzou and if he ultimately signs with Mizzou, grades had anything to do with it. I'm going to argue probably the shit show offense you put on the field has everything to do with it. So Crutchfield decommits, in the strangest thing, he decommits, like 30 minutes before kickoff on Saturday? Like that was bizarre. He didn't wait till Monday. He didn't wait till at least the game, maybe a couple hours later. Even then, that probably would have been a little strange too, because Arkansas's won, and then you're going to come out and say, well, I'm done. I'm decommitting. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I'm not going to discuss everything that I've heard, but I will say that I don't think he's going to be the last. Patreon supporters, we've already kind of discussed that a little bit in the Patreon chat and Discord. There's going to be more dominoes that probably fall. Now, we know this changes day to day. The staff is fully aware that these kids are probably there's whispers in their ear, right? Other schools are whispering. Proxies are coming, man. The proxies are coming. Proxies are whispering in ears. They're sending text messages. They're making phone calls. Oh, Sam, year 4 kind of looks bad, I mean, what's strange about the Crutchfield thing, though, is, that's a Kenny Guyton guy. And he's now the OC for the moment. Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you can convince him to recommit, assuming the offense is fantastic from here on out, and you keep Kenny Guyton as the OC. Maybe he'll reconsider. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Arkansas, with this loss, has offered Joseph Young, who's a JUCO wide receiver out of Coffeyville, who is currently unranked 6'2", 190 pounds. I don't know a whole lot about Joseph Young. Someone had mentioned he might be from Arkansas. I just was talking to someone about him about an hour ago, and I swear they texted in a long 14-paragraph sentence something about him being from Arkansas. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it is. I think that's actually accurate. He's actually from the state. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can verify that. Recruiting hounds, release. So Arkansas falls out of the top 20. They're 23rd right now in overall, talking about recruiting rankings. Collins, Bridges, Roman, Henderson, Jackson, Pope, and Russell are your only 4 stars remaining. They got to hold on to these guys, man. I know that goes without saying, but holy crap, they've got to hang on to these guys. KJ Jackson, I'd love to see that dude stick it out. Now, I'm going to say this too. Thanks to the portal, I'm obviously going to keep up with high school recruiting. I am so much more invested in the transfer portal. Like, I get it. Like, high school recruiting still does matter, and it should. Those kids need to be given those opportunities, and they will, right? They will. Sometimes that might mean they're going to have to go to some of the kids that are kind of standing on the edge of maybe being a higher rated prospect, whether that's 3 or 4 stars, whatever. They may have to go to a group of 5 school and then show out for a couple of years and then get that opportunity to move on elsewhere. That's a different show altogether, whether or not that's good for the landscape of college football or not. But it's a double-edged sword, the portal is. It's double-edged. Arkansas has been cut by it, and they've delivered some blows by it. I mean, I think they did a decent job in the portal, landing a what was it, top 15 portal class. Also, Patreon supporters, we will be keeping up with the transfer portal, the Bobby Hopper transfer portal /tunnel. We will be keeping up with it. Only Patreon supporters will have access. I'm going to have their stats. We did this last year. I got dried tobacco falling around. Better check my beard too. It's amazing what your beard, it's like static electricity, man. It's like, gotta make sure you don't get the stuff in your beard. But yeah, we're going to do just like we've done before. We're going to have PFF grades, stats, whatever information I can get on Arkansas transfer targets. Again, that will be available to just Patreon supporters. So another reason portal season is my favorite time of year. I'm not going to lie. Like, as someone who keeps up with all this stuff for not only my line of work, but just in general, I think even if I didn't do this, it's fun to kind of look at this, analyze it, look at all these players and their prospects and what they did statistically at one school and kind of looking at their analytics and then looking at the PFF grades and whatnot. And again, PFF, you guys know, I've said this 100 times. I'm still skeptical of some of it, but at the same time, if you correlate what they say on their stat sheet on PFF, you actually see it transpire on the field. Like they gave Landon Jackson and I noticed this, Landon Jackson missed some tackles. Well, that affected his grade, and it showed up on their stat sheet. And we're going to go over that also here in just a second. So, yeah, anyways, I'm going to keep up with recruiting. Of course, you guys know when they get a big-time commit, that matters. You know, when they get a big-time 4 or 5 star, I try to cover it as best I can. That's still going to happen. But transfer portal season is upon us. It's almost here. Man, it's like my favorite time of year, man. It's coming. It'll be here before you know it. All right, what else we got? We get everything out of the way there. Arkansas, yeah. So here's the other last little bit here from the. We talked about the awards. Arkansas had 4 players. That's a program record. I don't know many schools that have done this. 4 players awarded after the 39-36 overtime win in Gainesville. Cam Little got co-special teams player of the week. Offensive lineman, Bo Lemon, I think that was outright. There's no co there. Co-defensive player is Snacks Johnson, and co-freshman is Jalen Braxton. Of course, we know he had that strip, the fumble touchdown, the strip touchdown. So Braxton, who had a pretty good game, And anytime you get a defensive touchdown, that's huge. He's probably going to end up being an all-SEC freshman and maybe even an all-American freshman. I mean, that's the level in which I think he's playing at. He could end up being an all-American freshman. He really could. Braxton has been awesome. He's just been awesome. So, all right. Finally got a win. I'll take it, says JV's Hangout. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joseph Young is from Bryant. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, I thought he was from, Central Arkansas. That's Bryant. Yeah, you got Bryant and Benton and Little Rock right there. Pulaski area. That's something I wish I had more time for. It would be nice to keep up with the youngsters coming in. I'm just saying, like, this is what I do. I don't know if you're a Patreon supporter, but we in Patreon, man, we were all over the transfer portal. It was great. Only I like is beer. Says John Everett. I like that. Hey, cheers, man. That was great. beer. I'm gonna have to run to the cigar store when I'm done here. Maybe stop and get me a glass of whiskey, grab me a couple cigars, and get ready for tonight. Let's see. Tusky says nothing to do with grades and everything to do with the performance of Arkansas in Missouri. I agree, Tusky, 110%. I don't think that has anything to do with grades. I think it's what happened. And we were talking about this earlier in Discord about, I mean, who gets the blame for making the hiring of Dan Enos? Who gets the blame? I mean, it's Sam Pittman. I mean, and players are picking up on that, I think, a little bit. I hope they can better polish that off there we go. I think players are picking up on that a little bit, and I think there is some negative recruiting going on. So, Ty, you're doing a game companion at Odd Soul this weekend? Not at Odd Soul. I don't know where you heard that. I have no plans of doing one at Odd Soul. But I am doing it. We are doing, I know me and the DRC podcast, Don't Read the Comments podcast, we're planning on doing a group pod or a game companion for Duke. I'm going to do some more before that game. So, how much do you think we win tonight? We'll get there, Cameron. We'll get there, buddy. Just hang on. Hang on, old buddy. We'll get there. Wouldn't it be great the next 2 games and play Mizzou with a bowl game on the line? Seems like Mizzou has gotten us many years with the same thing on the line. Revenge time. You need to win that game. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say Mizzou's not legit, but then my version of legit is like a playoff contender. When you say someone's legit to me, I am automatically assume you're talking about, man, that's a team that might be a dark horse for the playoffs. Now, if there was a playoff expansion, if we were at the 12 teams, I still think they'd be on the outside looking in. I really, again, the Georgia game did kind of turn my head a little bit. I mean, it did. Maybe I should be buying Mizzou stock right now. I don't know. But again, you look at their quality games, man, they've got one. They've got one. And it's against a team I'm not sure should have ever been ranked in Kansas State. I don't know. To each their own. Maybe you guys are buying stock. Are you buying Mizzou stock? Right now, I'm holding off. But if I keep holding on, it's expensive now, though, right? Because everyone's buying in. The value's gone up. Dorkwitz would blow a championship game. Well, I mean, I think because he's put together a pretty decent SEC roster. That's what they have. They have a pretty decent SEC roster. Let's go over some grades. That's what I love about the Monday after shows. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Also, shout out, speaking of the Odd Cell, shout out to the Odd Cell Craft Bar and Pizzaria located right here in Springdale, down on Emma Street. South side of town. If you guys are coming into town, you got these home games left in Fayetteville. If you're coming up, go check them out, man. Go check out the environment, their food, the IPAs they have on stock, man. I'm all about it. Odd Soul, Crap Bar, Pizzeria. Link provided for you down below. And, of course, direct service overhead, the Garage Door Company. They operate out of Central Arkansas and in Northwest Arkansas. Free estimates, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. 501-244-3667. Link is also provided for you down below. Again, they operate in Central and Northwest Arkansas. Maybe even Northeast Arkansas. That'd be a good question for Travis. Travis, are you in chat? Help me out here. Mizzou could be undefeated, scoring 50 points a game, and I still wouldn't buy. At that point, that means they would have beaten Georgia. Yeah, then you're buying. You're really buying. If they're scoring 50 points a game. I mean, I get it. You wouldn't want the stock because it's that dadgum Mizzou. I get it. They play Tennessee, so we will see. Yeah, Tennessee could be the marker for them. And again, not trying to make excuses, that is a game at home, and they're pretty good at home. Their only loss on the season is to LSU, who beat them by just 10 points. Tennessee might be the game, though. It might be the game where I might be buying stock, and I hate to say that. I feel like if they beat Tennessee, there's a good shot those guys go 10-2. There's a good shot they go 10-2, which just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. Looking at the PFF grades, we'll start first with the defense. We'll get a look at the defense here. I really want to – I don't know if I can do it here. I really want to share this screen with you guys. I got two share screen buttons here. Let's see. Well, hang on. I wanted to share some of these grades because I think it's cool to talk about it, but it's even better if you get to see it, Okay, there it is. You can see all my tabs. You see what I'm complaining about here with all my tabs. But here we are. Here's the KenPom screen. Is that coming up all right? See here, make sure it's coming up where you guys can see it. Yeah, okay. Here's the KenPom screen. This is the PFF. This is what I pay for. And this is what you get here, so you can kind of see some of the numbers. Dwight McGlothern grades out overall 82, right? His cover, look at that cover grade. Look at the cover grade for Dwight McGlothern, 81.5. His tackle, that is absurd for a corner. Now, this might be because he didn't have a lot of tackle attempts. PFF's a little strange about this. Like, if you have a ball carrier within your range, within your zone of your tackle zone, and you miss the tackle, well, then they'll hit you with something like that. Landon Jackson got graded out. And listen, we saw this Saturday. I saw him miss, quite a few opportunities here. They say he missed 75% of his tackles. That's why he's given this 20.8 grade. Jackson is not, ever since he got put in that first round category, he's just kind of been on a slow decline. I don't know. And listen, you guys, I said this before the season. His ceiling is first round. I stand by that. But I don't know that he's the first defensive end taken off the board. Because there's some things that stand out. Like, I'm not seeing him disrupt the timing between a quarterback and receiver. Like, I'm not seeing him throw off the timing with a quarterback because of his ability to rush. He had one really great game against Alabama, and overall I think he's been maybe slightly above average before that and after. I could be wrong. I might be missing a game, but that is not like that. That's horrible. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't know how legit that 75% is, but I certainly saw him miss, and they're claiming he missed 3 tackles within his zone. Now, he did have, on the flip side, he had 3 hurries. He did make contact with the quarterback once with a total of 4 tackles. No sacks, though. And he did make 1 stop, which I believe a stop for them is basically a TFL. I don't know why they don't just call it. I guess because there's such a thing as a line of scrimmage tackle and a behind the line of scrimmage tackle, and then you've got to separate that in sacks. So maybe that's why they just call it a stop. But they give him credit for 1, which, okay, you expect that. He's an SEC defensive end. He ought to get 1 every game at least. And they do say he went back in coverage once, which is also something he does do from time to time. I didn't see it, but doesn't mean it didn't happen. And his run defense grade is 59. But you go back up here to Dwight McGlothern, 81 overall coverage grade, 80 overall tackle grade. And again, that number could be high because he only had a few tackle opportunities and he made the most of every one of them. This does not mean this is not his average on the year, although it might be. I don't know, actually. It just means his opportunities, he made the most of them, and he missed 0% of those opportunities. His overall defensive grade is 82. Look at that. You played Dwight McGlothern. Look at that grade. Alfahim Walcott, I thought he looked pretty good, and look at his grades here, 82. This is where you want your safety. Look at that grade. Look at the coverage grade, bro. High 60s, and then anything above that, in as far as like some of these numbers are concerned, some of these categories, like coverage, like for a safety, you want him to be about, obviously a little higher, but you think about it, he's probably back in zone quite a bit. McGlothern's going to catch probably a little bit of both man and zone coverage. There's someone else that had a where'd it go? Someone did really well. Oh, here it is. Yeah, John Morgan ended up with a 75 grade, no misses. This is the other thing I don't understand about PFF. If he had no misses, then why is his tackle almost 76%? Like, that's the stuff that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If he had no misses, maybe it's just based on his opportunities. I don't know. It shouldn't be because we just talked about that. Anyways, there's your offensive numbers. A couple of guys who people kept telling me were going to be dynamite. I mean, they continue to not have much of a presence. Here's Zach Williams. I mean, I'm told every year this guy's going to have a great year, and he never does. Like, he doesn't. I hate to say it. I like the kid, but that's, man, not very good. But it's also, we got to be fair. It's not good to grade a player simply by what PFF tells you. I've actually had a conversation with the U of A on this. I actually talked with them about PFF. And there's no communication between PFF and the universities. There's none. It's some guy apparently up in like Michigan or somewhere who's just watching the game, filling out their analytical sheet, and then they put it in through something, and then it kind of churns out the grades. So what PFF, the disadvantage they have, and this is what the U of A said, they don't know what the actual execution level is of the player, and they don't know the play design. So, and this is why I take some of their stuff with a grain of salt. So just a heads up. Again, this is not fair. Like KJ Jefferson, his grades this year started off pretty strong, and then they ended up being pretty bad. And we had people in Discord saying, oh, we'll see, he's trash. Look at that. He graded out horrible. Well, again, he's like, there's no grade on drop passes that I've seen. Maybe I've overlooked it. There's no grade on poor pass. I mean, there's a grade on pass protection, but they don't imprint that on the quarterback. Like, okay, how often is this guy running for his freaking life? These are the things that PFF doesn't catch. Maybe a receiver fell down on a route, which I don't know that I've seen happen, but maybe that has happened off camera. We didn't see it. Receivers not getting open, which has happened all year long. Now, some of that may have more to do with route concepts and what the plays were that were being drawn up. Let's look at the offense here really quick, and then we'll flip around. Here's the offense. So Ty Washington, now see, here we go. Look at the grade, 93.2. Passing grade's 92, but he only played a total of 3 snaps. So, again, he made the absolute most. That's why sometimes you see these guys with, 3 snaps, and they have some insanely high grade. Well, because he made the most of it. Now, they grade him out as run blocking at 60. Here's Andrew Armstrong, and I think this is probably pretty accurate. I thought he'd be higher. My guess was he'd be mid to high 70s, and he ends up being at about 73. Rocket Sanders, I thought, might be a little bit higher, but they grade him out at 69, and their reasoning here is, again, here's a strange thing about PFF, run block. I mean, I get pass blocking grades, but I don't get the run block grade. And that affects his overall score. So, again, you got to take these with a grain of salt. His pass block was really good, and I think we can all agree we saw something with the pass blocking from the running backs. That's why, again, yeah, we take it with a grain of salt, but also I don't – like that score seems like probably about what I would have guessed. Who's the other one? There's another AJ Green, looky here, 77.4. Nathan Bax graded out pretty good here for a tight end, grading out in the 70s. Pass block, that's great, man. That's great. Armstrong, who I did see blocking downfield. Look, I'm sorry, not Armstrong. Where's the receiver? I know he's here. I know you're here. Well, maybe not. But I did see maybe it was Broden. Looked like he was making some blocks downfield on a KJ run. I think they missed some of these things, and they clearly didn't grade out any of the receivers in their pass block. But I mean, maybe it's considered run block. Actually, I bet it is. Yeah, I guess it. Yeah. Duh, you're running the ball. What am I saying? My bad. Ignore me. Yeah, here's Andrew Armstrong with a 61 run block. I mean, look at these. See how much they affect the overall. And I don't think they should, man. I don't think that you should hold a receiver or a running back for their run block grade. That's just weird. I mean, I know they do. They obviously pass block. But when a quarterback takes off and runs, typically he's going in the opposite direction of a running back. I don't understand why that shouldn't be held against a running back. So, yeah, A.J. Green got a 60 overall run block. A.J. Green's a better run blocker. He's the best run blocker on this list just behind Andrew Armstrong. Anyways, there you go. There's your grades for anyone who's curious. Ty Washington with that 93 grade is nice, but these are the grades below him that you take a little bit more seriously because they actually got some snaps. There's their total snaps right here, 56, 58. And then you get Bo Limmer and KJ with the 83. So, yeah. I would say that Arkansas did it's kind of crazy because it wasn't their best performance of the season. It wasn't in terms of like what you saw on the field, like the actual execution of individuals. There's still some mistakes made. Florida certainly tripped over their own feet several times. Florida gave you opportunities. What matters the most is Arkansas made the absolute most out of all of them. Like they made Florida pay, and that's a really good sign. Now, The yards were incredible. The total offense was incredible. But yeah, I mean, PFF, I think, kind of has a point. Like, there were still some issues. The pass blocking was still a problem up front. I think, what did Sam say today? It was they were sacked. Was it 5? Was it 4 times? What was it? Hang on just a second. They give Florida credit for 4 or 5. 5. And Sam said that it was actually more like 2 or 3. Because a couple of those were actually designed run plays. Again, that kind of goes towards what we were saying about PFF. Like, they don't know. They can't differentiate the difference. Like, how do you grade that when you're talking about, like, the RPO? Like, that earns its own grade in and of itself. Like, how did he make the right read? Did he make – I mean, obviously, if the play results in, positive yardage, like, 8, 9, 10 yards, then yeah, maybe that's how you grade the read, right? Like, okay, well, he actually got a first down out of the read. But they don't. They just simply give him a run grade. So I don't know. Maybe that kind of takes care of itself in some ways when you just look at those numbers. But yeah, Florida ended up with 5 sacks. Arkansas had 3. I think all 3 of Arkansas's were 2 of them, I think, were covered sacks, and then 1 was just a really great effort. I think that was the Gregory sack. Pooh Paul had a sack. Snacks Johnson, I mean, 5 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, and a pass breakup. Dwight McLaughlin had 3 pass breakups with a TFL. They ended up with 6 total TFLs, which is, I mean, that's not bad down in the swamp. It's not terrible. Yo, what's up, Mike? How you doing, man? How you doing? It's good to see you here. JV's hanging out. See, I hear what you're saying. I get it. Yes, of course, the score is all that matters. I hear you. But this other stuff does tell a part of the story, and it's worth talking about. And a stat that I'm about to tell you here that's not going to surprise you but does ultimately matter is total offense for Arkansas. One of the worst in the country. Again, not shocking, but in this game alone, what did we see kind of correlate? What did we see that was like, oh my God, the offense turned itself around? Well, how do we know that? I mean, other than just seeing it for our own eyes, 481 total yards of offense. That is the most. I mean, think about this. You had 200 yards against Mississippi State. I mean, 200 yards against one of the worst secondaries in the SEC. At least I believe they were at the time, if I remember my notes right. 200 yards of total offense, right? You go back to Alabama, okay, 250, not surprising because Alabama is actually a pretty good defense, okay, and it was in Tuscaloosa. 286 against Ole Miss. They're feisty on defense, but they still, I mean, you felt like they should have had more yardage. 174. You were outgained 414 to 174 in offense against A&M. I mean, yeah, score matters, but man, these other numbers tell a part of the story. They absolutely do. 426 against LSU, the worst defense in the SEC. Those aren't bad numbers, but you gave up 509. 424 yards against BYU. 308 against Kent freaking State. And 379 against Western Carolina. Now, that was a little bit different. That game was, the defense just, what a game for them. Giving up just 291 total yards, 227 through the air. But again, you go to this Florida game, 481 total yards of offense. I'm not super thrilled about giving up almost 400 yards, but Florida's offense, they're at home. Like, they've been better on offense. They were above 50% on third down. They were 8 of 17. They had nearly 300 yards through the air. And they had just 1 turnover, but they had 7 flags for 55 yards. There's still some things, again, that you look at in this game, and it wasn't the best game defensively. Like, Florida, at the end of the game, In the fourth quarter, they did whatever they wanted on offense. I think the defense finally kind of got gassed. You had a little bit more offensive explosion. You were scoring a little bit quicker. So then it kind of, you didn't have all that depth you have. That's where that comes in. That's where all that quality depth comes in overtime at the end of games. But they still kind of gave up a little bit more yardage than I would like to have seen. They really were gashing Arkansas pretty easily. I would have guessed with overtime they would have given up 500 yards of total offense. They still kept it under 400. Just 20 total first downs, 112 yards on the ground, which is not bad. Florida has a habit though of underutilizing their running backs. They're pretty loaded back there. They ought to be getting about $160 every game, in my opinion, especially over in the East. Arkansas 226 yards of offense. That's a season high, right? What did they rush against? What was their total yards against Western Carolina? Was it Western Carolina? They had 105 against Western Carolina. Yeah. It was that's right. Kent State, they had 172. So yeah, this is a great weekend for Arkansas on the ground and total offense. Florida did stumble over themselves a little bit, but Arkansas made the most of it. I mean, listen, it's not like Arkansas. I mean, they turned the ball over twice. That's another thing they've got to get. That's got to stop. Like here lately, they went from being one of the top turnover ratio offenses or turnover ratio teams in college football. They have dropped significantly. They've given up at least 2 turnovers in, I think, every game except Bama, going all the way back to Ole Miss, because they gave up 2 turnovers to Ole Miss. I think they had one turnover to A&M. So beginning of the year, it was pretty good, but really since right around the time of Ole Miss and since, they're giving up the ball nearly 2 times a game. That's just too much. Thank God your defense has a habit of taking the ball away, though, right? I mean, at least you got that. I wonder what part of the defensive yards against Florida was due to the offense going more up tempo. Yeah, that's what I said a minute ago. Your offense is a little bit faster. They're off the field a little bit quicker, and yeah, they're hurrying, right? As before, Dan Enos, that's one of the things where the up-tempo, the RPO heavy kind of veer and shoot offense can kind of mask some of the issues that you have on offense in certain areas like offensive line. It can kind of mask some of that a little bit. Although with how bad their offensive line's been this year, I think it's still going to continue to be a problem. You can only polish a turd so much. I mean, let's just be real. That offensive line's garbage. But then what it also does, it can expose more of the weaknesses that you have on defense. I'm going to say last year, Florida wins this game. Barry Odom, there is no – I'm sorry. Enos' defense, or if you were to flip that around, Enos this year, Odom this year, even with the offense eating up a little bit more clock, a little bit slower pace, it's not as if the offense was staying on the field a whole lot with Enos. It's not as if the offense, they had some good not clock management. They did a pretty good job in some games where they're eating up a lot of clock because of, the slower tempo of the game, and that can kind of mask some of the issues that you have on defense. But with how quick they were, I'm not putting blame on the Arkansas defense. I mean, yeah, again, at the end of the game, it was pretty rough. There's no doubt about it. It was pretty rough. I thought the defense at the end of the game, they were gassed, man. I mean, they were. That's why it is somewhat surprising that they held Florida to a field goal and that they were able to take the win, because I kind of thought they might be not great shape, because they looked gassed and they were giving up. They were struggling. The Arkansas defense was. And again, that's just even more credit to the Arkansas defense, right? I mean, they held through, man. Even in overtime, they held through. All right. So yeah, so impressed though. I mean, like I said, they beat Florida, and that's what matters. So therefore, we want to say this was the best performance. You won, and that's what makes the difference here. And I agree with that. But they still, there's still some areas I really want to see them get a little bit better, right? I want to see the running backs continue to pass block as well as they did. I want to see wide receivers blocking downfield a little better. I'd like to see Rocket duplicate what he did Saturday, right? Have another 100-yard game. If Rocket plays like that, if this team effort and what we saw Saturday holds up, and they can do this every week, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would like Mizzou is still a question mark. It is. But I do like their chances of winning out up until Mizzou. Because, again, I sit here and say it's not their best game in terms of just like total play, right, on both sides of the ball from start to finish. But at the same time, it was, because you have to consider who they played. You have to consider they were in Gainesville. You have to consider the hostility of that environment. That is one of the I mean, think of the places Arkansas's played this year. At LSU, at Bama, at Ole Miss, in Oxford, and in Gainesville. The moment has never been too big for them where, like, they get blown out, right? And they finally win one. I think they've played really well, even in some losses, other than some really bad offensive miscues that kind of represent the whole issue this year, right? The offense being as bad as it was, the offensive line being as bad as it's been. But again, this offense, when you go up tempo, you're utilizing RPO, you're utilizing play action the way they have, you get the result that you get. You're able to mask some of those issues, and that's exactly what happened. Looking at KJ's, well, good grief, are you going to pull up or not, bruh? Looking at his passing direction, his passing depth, KJ really liked the middle of the field. He ended up, 7, 8, 9, 10 of like 13. So, I mean, he hit the middle of the field between the numbers really well. He hit the right side of the field really well also. He was 100% from, it was only 3 attempts, between the line of scrimmage all the way up to 20-plus yards. He was 100 or up to 19 yards. And then he was 1 for 2 on the outside right beyond 20 yards. So he hit the middle and the right, and that's kind of been his theme all year. But then he also hit 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he hit 6 of 11 to the left for, 40 yards. Let's look at his kept clean percentage. He was 66%, almost 67% when the pocket was clean. Now, Stephen Hamner pointed out that number's got to be higher. Like 60s, in the 60s, is you probably really need to be like 72, 74% and up when you've got a clean pocket. And that's why and I think he's got something there, because PFF says that's only good enough for a 60 overall grade. Under pressure, he was 50%. Now, I will say he had 221 yards with a clean pocket. That's not all bad. When he wasn't blitzed, he completed 71% of his throws. When blitzed, he completed 58%. Out of play action, he actually grades out pretty good here. He was 70% with 97 yards and almost 72 overall grade with a touchdown. Right? So, I mean, his passing numbers, again, this is what I'm saying. This was not his best game. Like, you could argue it was on the ground. It was easily his best game. His total play, his total presence, it was his best game. But if you wanted to break down just his passing splits, his passing numbers, he's done a little bit better earlier on in the year. But his total presence, like the chess piece on the board, he was absolutely the king. Rocket, the queen. And, of course, it helps these tight ends. And that's another thing we haven't talked enough about, tight end play. I mean, it's like next guy up. Once again, they got to do it for a third time this year. Now they're without Ty Washington, so now someone else is going to have to step up. Is it Gums? You guys keep asking about Shamar Easter. I don't know. I don't know what's up with Easter. I kind of thought he might actually get an opportunity on Saturday. And he just didn't. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Let's see. Does this save Sam Pittman's job? It can. It can, Steve-O. It can. If he's got to win another game, though. He has to win another game. KJ and Rocket at the end of the game were Beastie Boys. There you go. KJ likes to throw across his body when he rolls left. that caused a couple of something. I can't read the rest of that comment. That caused a couple, I guess, of those. Something of those missed going left. Yeah, right. Right. There's no such thing as home field advantage for the Hogs. Refs see to that. You might be onto something there, man. Hey, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. You got any questions or comments, fire away. I wanted to play this clip here really quick. Otis says something. Otis says Easter isn't coming this year. Wait, what? Otis says Easter isn't coming this year. Will be great though. Oh. He looks undersized at tight end. I say undersized. He doesn't look like an SEC tight end. You know, he's longer. He's a little bit taller than the rest of those guys. He's not compact like they are. He looks like a slightly thicker wide receiver. And that might have something to do with it. I don't know. His athletic ability, though, you guys know how I feel about Shamar Easter. I think Shamar Easter's I think he's going to be an absolute stud. I'm really excited for Shamar. I really am. I think his ceiling is really high. Let's share this video here really quick. This was Sam talking about Kenny Guyton. I can't brag enough about Kenny, man. Kenny was – what a game.
Of all the things Kenny did, opening drive touchdown, it wasn't a 2-minute drill, but it was close enough. You had to, well, actually it was a 2-minute drill and the drive before that. What did you think about his overall composure on the headphones and just how the whole thing kind of laid out?
He got a lot of swag about him. He got a lot of confidence and not overbearing now, but he got a lot of confidence. The kids can feel it. The kids have a lot of confidence in him. I don't know. But KJ, a lot of confidence in him. And I think KJ played by far his best game by far this year, Saturday. And I thought Rocket did too by far. And I know he'd only played really in 2.5 games, but that has a lot to do with passion and pride and confidence and all that. And that's what Kenny brought to him. But he believed it too now. And I never questioned anything that he called because he called what we practice. And in these situations, in practice, we're going to throw it down there possibly. We knew that safety was going to be low and we could get behind him. And when he called it, man, I got tight because I'm going, oh my God, first and goal on the 4 and ball's in the air. And I didn't stay tight too long, and Broden made a really, really nice catch. And KJ threw it to where only Broden could catch it. So I'm so happy for Kenny and the program and the state and everybody else. It was a big win for us.
Yeah. So Sam says that was KJ's best game by far. When you take the leash off of KJ Jefferson, what do you know? What do you know? You get that his total game. Like I said, I think passing wise, he's had a little bit better game. This might have been. I mean, I think yardage wise, this was his most yards thrown. But I thought I think he missed some pretty easy shots. But he's done that all year. He's struggled. But his total presence on the field, Florida they couldn't stop him. It was, you could argue, complete package-wise, this was one of the best games. It's got to be in there as one of his top 5 performances of all time as a Razorback. It's got to be up there. Passing wasn't perfect, but like everything else was so much better. His pocket presence, he wasn't hesitating. He wasn't staring down receivers as often. He did a little bit, but PFF agrees that his ability as a passer this game could have been a little bit better. They grade him out at 59, but his run grade was almost 73, which is pretty good, man. I mean, for a quarterback, And when you think about, like, those lanes are not as wide open as they were the last couple of years because the offensive line plays regressed. And so when you consider all the issues they've had, and then you got Rocket going, I think this was one of Rocket's. I don't know if could we say this is one of his top? I don't think it's one of his top 5 performances, but when you factor in that it was against Florida and you factor in who it was against and, and where you were playing them, I mean, I don't know what to make of Florida. I don't think anybody's buying Florida stock right now. But they are very difficult. I mean, Tennessee couldn't beat them on Saturday. They couldn't beat them earlier in the year. And Tennessee's a pretty decent football team. I think some would argue they're better than Arkansas, or at least that was the thought before Arkansas went into Gainesville and beat that ass. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I just so proud of them. I think they all played so well. Not the most perfect game. You got to kind of think Florida for some of their mistakes, some of their miscues, guys tripping over themselves, and they certainly did not play clean football. And okay, neither did Arkansas, but like it still ended up being, when you consider the opponent and where you were playing them, their best performance overall. So imagine if they clean up some of the stuff, right? Imagine if the offensive line play. Now they've got that game under their belt. Now they're playing with a little bit of confidence. KJ's playing with a little bit of confidence. Rocket is still a Razorback. Thank God for that. I didn't think we'd see him again, and I wasn't the only one. I know I wasn't the only one. And yet here we are, man. Imagine what they could do. I heard Maddox Lassiter is good. Yeah, Sam really likes Lassiter. Yeah, we'll see Maddox Lassiter. Yeah, I think we will moving forward. Barry Odom is 7-2 at UNLV. Impressed, actually. Yeah, that's great. But as a defensive coordinator, man, he was cheeks here. I didn't, especially after year 2, I was just not impressed with his defense. We were at times, I think we were worse than some of the Willie Robinson defenses. I just not impressed. They can go out and get guys. They can go out and get some ball players. Catalan, I know he couldn't stay healthy. I get it. Miles Slusher, kind of the same story, but I don't know. I never haven't been a big fan of his in the last couple of years. I'm glad he's having success as a head coach. That's great. Maybe that's where he should be, right? I don't think Rocket stays. If Enos stayed, yeah, boy. All right. Don't forget, tonight, baby, I will be live. We're going to do a game companion or a watch party for the SEC, or the not an SEC opener. I wish it was an SEC opener. For Arkansas Razorback basketball tonight for game 1 to start the season off. I will be here. We'll be streaming, not the game, but we'll be doing this. You know what to do. You got to sync the game up. We'll sync it up together. I might be a little bit ahead of you. I think there were some people that had that, but I think most people were able to sync it up, and we were all able to kind of stay on the same page, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to do that for tonight. I don't know how many more of those I'll do before the Duke game. I don't know. Kind of just depends on, I don't know, basketball by yourself doing something like a game companion it's going to be tough. Football, it's a little bit slower pace compared to basketball, but it'll be fun regardless, At the very least, we're going to probably drink a little bit, smoke a cigar, have fun, and all that. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure, again, on your way out, hit the like button, share the content, and I will see you guys here in a little bit. All right. Yeah, Arkansas's favorite. We didn't even talk about. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about the game. We got so wrapped up in football. I will say, here we'll just briefly go over it. Their expected lineup, they're going to be pretty small, or their guards are going to be undersized, right? Byron Joshua. I don't know if he's going to. I think he's one of the guys that may not play tonight. Alcorn State has a couple of players that may not play tonight, and I thought he was one of them. But he's a 5'10 guard. He's quick, though. Average 14 points, 2 rebounds. Let's see, Jeremiah Gambrell, who's a 6'2", 6'3 guard. Jalen Hawkins, who's another 6'2", 6'3 guard. Then they do have a 6'10 and a 6'7 guy, Bennett and Tzinkovic, who's like 6'9", 6'10". They got a little bit of size to work with. I think they've actually got a little bit of depth. So this could be a pretty interesting game. The spread is like 24 points. I don't know, man. I want to take Arkansas. I really do. Ellis, Devo, Tremont Mark, Brazil, and Chandler Lawson, I believe, are going to end up being the starters. We'll see about it. Might be Mekhi Mitchell over Chandler. We'll see. Do not expect Jalen Graham tonight. Yeah, so they're going to be without. They are without their 6'7" senior forward Jeremiah Kendall. Talking about the Braves. Arkansas is 5-0 all time versus Alcorn State. All those games are in Fayetteville. Arkansas has won 49 straight home openers dating back to 1974. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to take Arkansas on the over, especially if they're missing a call. I think they're expecting at least one of those guys not to play. Hell, I think even if both of them were going to play, I'd probably still take Arkansas on the over. I think Arkansas, man, listen, beating these guys by 30 isn't going to show the world anything, but it could show the fans a little bit. You know what I mean? A little bit. I like Arkansas. We have a Discord. What is our predictor on Discord? Is it total points or is it let's find it here. Oh, it's leading scorer. Leading scorer. And we got a few picks in there. We're doing pretty good there. If you haven't made your pick yet, go do it. It's just leading scorer. I have Tremont Mark. But a lot of people like Ellis, Brazil, Battle's pretty damn good too, man. He could be a free throw shooting fiend for Arkansas. Maybe he'll be one of those closers tonight. What I want to do is on Friday, I also want to break down. I know I probably should have done it today, but on Friday, I want to pick my overall SEC wins for Arkansas. Not every game, but just kind of give you my total win total. I was thinking about doing it today, but I knew the football game, there was so much to go over. There was a lot to talk about, and I knew I was going to go dive into PFF numbers and everything. So I'm going to save that for Friday, give you guys an idea of where I'm at. I mean, obviously, I'm really high on the Hogs. Blake Lovell interview. If you're a Patreon supporter, go watch it. If you're not a Patreon supporter and you want to check it out, he laid down some stuff for us. So it was all really great, and it's always good having Blake Lovell from Southeastern 14 for him to it's always fun having him on. So, all right, guys. That's it. I'll see you later tonight. Well, I'll see you here in about 7. Well, a little bit before. I'll probably be on. I might go live 20 minutes before tip off. So I will see you then. Yeah, sound good. All right.